If there's one truth that has crystallized over 3 decades of working with couples from all walks of life, it's this. Most women miss the moment when a man is revealing his heart. They hear the words, yes, but they miss the meaning. They miss the moment. And in doing so, they often miss the doorway to a deeper, more lasting love. There is one question, a simple question, that serves as a gateway into a man's emotional world. It's not romantic in the way popular culture portrays love. It doesn't come with roses or grand gestures. It's subtle, almost ordinary. But if you understand what it really means, it will change the way you interpret men forever. The question is this: where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, to many, this might sound like a line from a job interview. To others, it may seem like harmless small talk. But let me be absolutely clear. When a man asks this question and he means it, he is not making idle conversation. He's revealing the beginning of future emotional projection. Let me explain. The neurology of male love. When a man is physically attracted to someone, his brain behaves in a very specific way. Neuroscience has shown that the areas related to immediate reward and gratification, dopaminergic centers, the amygdala, the limbic system, light up with activity. He is focused on the present moment, tonight, this weekend, this dinner, this experience. His prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for long-term planning, strategy, and goal orientation, stays largely inactive when attraction is shallow. In this mode, he is not thinking about the future. He is experiencing pleasure in the now. That's it. But something incredible happens when he begins to fall in love. A neurological shift occurs. The prefrontal cortex activates. That's when the man begins doing something I've called for years: future emotional projection. Future emotional projection is not conscious. He may not even realize he's doing it, but his brain begins building relational cognitive maps. It's the mind's attempt to visualize what life would look like with you in it. Not just now, but in 5 years, 10 years, maybe even more. This is one of the clearest distinctions between fleeting interest and developing emotional investment. A man in lust plans dates. A man in love starts picturing shared decisions. And so, that simple question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, becomes a crucial moment of insight. It's not a question about your career or bucket list. It's a request for compatibility. It's his brain's way of saying, I'm forming a vision of a future. Can you fit into it? The mistake most women make. Now here's the part I see over and over again in my practice. A woman hears that question and thinks, oh, that's nice. He's just making conversation. Or worse, why is he getting so serious so fast? And so she gives an answer that is polite, vague, non-committal. I don't really know. I'm just going with the flow. I'm kind of figuring things out. I don't like to plan too far ahead. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with not having every detail figured out. Life is unpredictable, and not everyone maps their 5-year plan on a vision board. But here's what I want you to understand. This question is not about planning. It's about presence. He's not asking for a detailed itinerary. He's trying to understand if you're even interested in building something real, something lasting, something rooted in mutual direction. The most dangerous assumption a woman can make is that a man will keep emotionally investing without this sense of shared vision. He won't, he can't, because the part of his brain that connects emotion to future action is demanding coherence. If your life paths seem incompatible or unclear, he may begin to withdraw, and he might not even know why. What he's really asking, let's decode what "where do you see yourself in 5 years" really means. Are you someone who dreams of something bigger? Do you want stability, growth, family, travel, career success, or are you floating? Would our values, goals, and lifestyles align over time? Is there even space for me in your long-term picture? This is not about agreement on every detail. You might want to live in the city. He prefers the suburbs. You might have different timelines for children, careers, travel. That's okay. It's not about sameness. It's about mutual direction. You don't have to have the same dreams, but you do need to be able to dream together. What to say when he asks. When he asks about your 5-year vision, that's your chance. That's the doorway opening. That's the moment to lean in, not to impress him, not to say what you think he wants to hear, but to be real. Say, I'm still figuring some things out, but here's what matters to me. Or, my dream is to be in a relationship where we're both growing, emotionally, maybe building a life, maybe a family. Or, 5 years from now, I see myself being loved deeply, feeling safe with someone, building something meaningful together. Even if you're still finding clarity, express that process. He's not looking for perfection. He's looking for presence. And when you respond with honesty, something profound happens. You validate the emotional leap he's beginning to take. You signal that you're not just passing time together. You're willing to be part of something real. The man who doesn't ask. Now let's talk about the opposite scenario. The man who never asks. He might be affectionate. He might even spend lots of time with you. But he never gets curious about your long-term vision. Never asks about your dreams, values, or direction. Here's what I want you to hear. A man who is not thinking about a future with you will never ask about your future. Because he doesn't need to. He's not building. He's just enjoying the present. And if you're hoping that his affection will one day magically turn into emotional investment without him ever expressing future curiosity, you are hoping against neuroscience. His brain is telling you everything you need to know. You just have to listen. A man thinking about a future with you will ask about your future. That one question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, is not casual. It's the first sign that his heart is starting to plan, to hope, to build. But there's another moment, a more vulnerable one. A moment that reveals not just future curiosity, but emotional depth. When this question surfaces, it represents a radical shift in a man's inner world. The second question is this: what do you feel for me? At first glance, this question may seem straightforward. But if you understand male psychology, if you truly grasp what it costs a man to ask this, you will never respond to it lightly again. Why this question is revolutionary. From boyhood, men are taught one primary emotional lesson: don't feel too much, and definitely don't show it. They're told to man up, don't cry, and never get too attached. Vulnerability is treated as weakness. Emotions are seen as something to manage or hide, not express. And so, by the time a man reaches adulthood, he is often wrapped in what I call emotional armor, a set of mental defenses designed to keep his feelings protected at all costs. So what happens when he starts falling in love? The armor begins to crack, and when a man asks you directly, what do you feel for me? He's doing something that goes against everything he's been conditioned to believe. He's allowing himself to be emotionally seen. He is stepping into the most vulnerable role a man can take. A lover willing to risk rejection. Think about it. He is risking your indifference, your dismissal, your discomfort, your potential to pull away. He is putting his emotional well-being in your hands, hoping that you'll hold it with care. That is not weakness. That is courage. What he's really asking. Let's decode the emotional layers behind this question. When he asks, what do you feel for me? What he's really saying is, am I safe here? Is this real for you too? Can I keep opening my heart to you, or should I pull back? Do I matter to you the way you're starting to matter to me? This isn't just a request for romantic affirmation. It's a test of emotional safety. A man doesn't need perfect answers, but he does need something honest, something real. And here's what I've seen, time and again. When a woman minimizes, dodges, or trivializes this moment, the man begins to retreat. He doesn't always know why. He just starts to feel emotionally unsafe. Because when he asks this question, he is not looking for cleverness or politeness. He's looking for connection. He's not trying to trap you into saying you're in love. He's trying to find out whether he's alone in what he's feeling. Common mistakes women make. Too often, women don't realize what this moment represents. Maybe they've been hurt. Maybe they're cautious. Maybe they're afraid of saying too much too soon. All of that is valid. But here's where it goes wrong. When the fear of vulnerability turns into avoidance. Instead of responding with emotional truth, they say, I like spending time with you. Let's not complicate things. You're great, let's see where it goes. Now, those answers may seem neutral or diplomatic, but they land with devastating impact. Because in that moment, the man is not just hearing words. He's receiving emotional signals. He's asking for connection and receiving a deflection. He's opening his heart and hearing an echo of ambiguity. And slowly, without knowing why, he starts to emotionally shut down. The tragedy? The woman often doesn't even know she's done anything wrong. She thinks she was being careful, but in reality, she missed a once-in-a-relationship opportunity to deepen trust and intimacy. What to say instead? So how should you respond when a man asks you what you feel for him? First, stop and recognize the gravity of the moment. This is not about giving a rehearsed answer. This is about meeting vulnerability with vulnerability. You don't have to declare undying love, but you do have to tell the truth of where you are. Emotionally, sincerely, authentically. Say, I've really come to care about you. I feel connected to you in a way that's surprising me. I'm still figuring out what I feel, but I want you to know that I'm open, and I'm here. These kinds of answers say, you are emotionally safe with me. And that is all he really wants to know. Because a man in love is not looking for perfection. He's looking for emotional reciprocity. He wants to know if he's investing in a relationship that can grow. If he's not the only one on the edge of emotional risk. The strongest men ask this question. Here's something I want to say especially to strong, independent women. Don't mistake his emotional vulnerability for weakness. In fact, it takes more strength for a man to ask, "What do you feel for me?" than it does to hide his emotions behind bravado or silence. I've worked with powerful, accomplished men, executives, military officers, athletes, and they all say the same thing in therapy. I can handle high pressure, risk, stress, but when I'm in love, that's the one area where I feel like I'm not in control. It's true. Love strips away our defenses. And for men, who are rarely taught how to sit with emotional uncertainty, this can feel terrifying. So when he dares to ask, "What do you feel for me?" he's doing something most men spend a lifetime avoiding. He is inviting emotional truth. That is strength. That is maturity. That is love beginning to take root. This is the fork in the road. I can't overstate this. When this question arises, you are standing at a fork in the road. You can respond with guarded neutrality, and the connection will likely remain surface level. Or you can respond with courage and truth, and that relationship may evolve into something extraordinary. But one thing is certain, this question never appears by accident. And if you ignore or minimize it, you're closing a door that may not open again. By now you understand that the grand declarations of love are not always the clearest signs of it. A man who asks you about your future is projecting himself into it. A man who asks what you feel for him is taking off his emotional armor. But there's a third kind of question, less obvious, more subtle, but just as powerful. These questions don't arrive with fanfare. They often come in the middle of a busy day or at the end of a simple conversation. And yet they reveal something essential about how a man is processing his emotional bond with you. These are the quiet questions. Did you eat? Did you get home safe? How was your day? On the surface, they may sound like basic politeness, social rituals, courteous gestures, anyone might say. But after decades of counseling couples, I can tell you something with absolute confidence. A man who asks these questions consistently is not being polite, he's expressing love. Let me explain why. The science of male mental compartmentalization. The male brain tends to be highly compartmentalized. Men are often wired to focus intently on one task or area of life at a time. Work in one box, friends in another, family in a third, romance in a fourth. This compartmentalization allows them to perform efficiently, often without emotional interference. But it also means that unless something becomes truly important to them, it doesn't break through the walls between compartments. So when a man interrupts his workflow, pauses during a social gathering, or takes a quiet moment in his evening just to ask, "Did you get something to eat today? How was your meeting? Did you make it home okay?" he is showing that you now exist outside of the romantic compartment. You are crossing over into the rest of his emotional world. That's no small thing. It means he's no longer engaging with you only when you're present. He's thinking about you when you're not there. You have become a constant in his internal landscape, the hidden meaning behind small questions. Let's decode what each of these questions really means. From an emotional perspective, did you eat? He's not just checking your nutrition. He's concerned about your well-being. He wants to make sure you're taking care of yourself. It's a primal act of caretaking, similar to how we check on someone we feel responsible for. He's showing that your health and comfort have emotional meaning to him. Did you get home safe? This is about emotional responsibility. A man who asks this isn't trying to control you. He's telling you that your safety directly affects his peace of mind. He can't rest fully until he knows you're okay. That's a significant psychological shift. Your safety has become his concern. That's not control. It's emotional inclusion. How was your day? Simple, yes, but profound. He wants access to your inner world. He's not just trying to fill time. He's inviting you to share what matters to you. He wants to connect emotionally, not just physically. When a man consistently asks this question, he's not making small talk. He's opening a window into mutual emotional engagement. These are not just signs of good manners. They're the early, consistent acts of emotional caretaking, the small roots of a big love. Why some women miss these signs? Here's what breaks my heart. I've watched women misinterpret these moments, time and time again. Because the questions are subtle. Because they're small, they're often dismissed. Why does he keep checking in? Is he trying to control me? It's nice that he asked, but it's not a big deal. He's just being polite. That doesn't mean anything. Let me say this clearly. Context is everything. If the tone is anxious, invasive, or possessive, yes, it could be control. But if the tone is consistent, gentle, and genuinely caring, that's emotional investment in progress. When a man is falling in love, his love doesn't explode into existence. It accumulates, quietly, steadily, through action, through care. And for men, actions are often more honest than words. You may be waiting for a love letter. He's showing you love in real time by checking in. You may be hoping for fireworks. He's offering you steady warmth. In real relationships, it's not always the grand gestures that define love. It's emotional consistency. How to respond when you see these signs. The most powerful thing you can do when you start noticing these quiet questions is simple. Acknowledge them, appreciate them, and, most importantly, reciprocate them. When he asks if you ate, say thank you. Then ask if he did. When he checks that you got home safe, let him know you did, and that it meant a lot that he cared. When he asks about your day, don't give a one-word answer. Share, then ask about his. This is how emotional intimacy is built, not through grand declarations, but through mutual, everyday care. When you recognize these questions for what they are, early signs of love in action, you have the chance to meet him on that emotional frequency. And that's where real love lives. The women who build lasting love. In my practice, I've noticed something again and again. The women who build deep, lasting relationships are not necessarily the most beautiful, the most outgoing, or the most agreeable. They are the women who recognize emotional sincerity when it appears, and they know how to meet it with presence and care. They don't roll their eyes at his protective questions. They don't downplay his interest in their daily lives. They see these acts of care for what they are, a growing commitment, disguised as simple conversation. And when they match that emotional energy, when they respond with gratitude, curiosity, and care of their own, something profound happens. The man feels emotionally safe. He relaxes. He opens up. He grows more consistent. He begins to plan. He begins to love fully, not halfway. We've explored 3 core questions that a man asks only when he's shifting from short-term interest to deep emotional commitment. 1. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? The question of shared direction. 2. What do you feel for me? The question of emotional safety. 3. Did you eat? Did you get home safe? How was your day? The questions of persistent care. These questions, subtle as they may seem, reveal a transformation taking place in the male emotional world, a shift from the compartmentalized, present-focused state of casual attraction into a vision of love that's deeper, wider, and more enduring. But there's one more question, a question that, when asked sincerely, is the closest thing to a wordless declaration of love that many men will ever make. It's the question that doesn't just bring you into his emotional world, it brings you into his whole life. Do you want to meet my family? The inner sanctum. In Western culture and many others around the world, family isn't just a group of people you grew up with. It's an emotional ecosystem, a space where core values were formed, where vulnerability was first experienced, and often, where pain was first introduced. For many men, family represents their emotional baseline. It's where they are most authentic, most themselves. They may be a leader at work, a joker among friends, a calm observer in social spaces, but with family, the mask comes off. And that's what makes this invitation so significant. When a man says, "I want you to meet my family," what he's really saying is, "I trust you with the most unfiltered parts of who I am. You matter enough to introduce into my inner circle. I'm not just dating you, I'm integrating you." Because here's the truth. A man does not bring casual relationships into his family space. He may spend years in romantic situations that never touch this part of his life. But when he's falling in love, when you're no longer just someone he enjoys, but someone he envisions building with, that's when this invitation comes. And it's never just about the dinner or the handshake. It's about emotional alignment. He wants the people who shaped him to see who he's choosing. He wants the woman he's falling for to see him, not just in a romantic light, but as a son, a brother, a human being with roots. The risk he's taking. Men don't make this move lightly. They know that if the family dynamic is difficult or imperfect, as it often is, they're opening themselves to being judged, not just by you, but by the family as well. That's vulnerable. But more than that, they are risking emotional dissonance. What if you don't like them? What if they don't accept you? What if the two most important parts of his life can't coexist? And yet, despite that fear, he asks, because his emotional brain has made a decision. She belongs in the bigger picture of my life. How women sometimes miss this moment. Sadly, this is another point where I see women misinterpret the moment. They say, "It's too early for that. I don't like being around people I don't know. I'm not sure this is serious enough yet." Of course, boundaries are important. But here's what I urge you to consider. When a man makes this invitation sincerely and thoughtfully, he's not rushing. He's reaching. He's offering you a glimpse into his world. Not to overwhelm you, but to invite you in. Rejecting that moment without understanding its meaning can feel like a rejection of him. Not of the dinner. Not of the event, but of the integration he was preparing for. How to respond with wisdom and care. If he asks you to meet his family, even if you feel uncertain, respond with emotional clarity. That means a lot to me that you'd want to include me. I'd really like to when the timing feels right. I'd love to get to know that part of your life. Let's talk about what that would look like. I'm open to it, and it helps me understand how serious you are. I appreciate that. This tells him, you see what he's doing. You respect it. You're emotionally present, even if you need time. That's mature. That's love-ready. The final reflection. Recognizing real love. At the end of all this exploration, we arrive at the question that matters most. Not, is he falling for me? But rather, am I emotionally ready to recognize and receive a love that shows up in this way? Because here's the truth I've learned from sitting with thousands of couples. Through every phase of love and loss, real love isn't loud, it's consistent. It doesn't arrive with dramatic music. It arrives in small, meaningful questions. Where are you going in life? And can I come with you? Do you feel something for me? Because I'm already opening up to you? Are you okay? Because I care enough to ask? Will you meet my family? Because I see you as someone permanent? These are the questions that separate fleeting attraction from growing connection. And how you respond to them is not just about your relationship with him. It's about your relationship with yourself. Do you know what you want? Do you trust yourself enough to be honest when asked? Do you feel worthy of a love that asks to build something real with you? Because mature love, true, lasting, soul-deep love, is a choice. A choice to show up when it's easier to hide. A choice to share when it's safer to remain silent. A choice to build when it would be simpler to keep it casual. And here's what I want for you. what every person who is ready for love deserves, that you never again mistake quiet care for lack of passion, that you never again overlook the man who checks in on you, asks about your future, wants to know how you feel, just because he doesn't say it with roses or fireworks. Because this is the man who will stand beside you when life gets hard. This is the man who will grow with you, build with you, and hold you in the quiet moments. This is the man whose love is steady, real, and present. So the final question is not for him, it's for you. Will you recognize real love when it comes, quietly, sincerely, consistently? Will you choose to meet that love with honesty, clarity, and presence? Because mature love doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks that you show up, fully, courageously, and as yourself. And if you can do that, you are already building something rare, something sacred, something real.